everyone. How are we doing today? This is Ricardo Wilkins and Stacy Mildenberger here with the inaugural Copilot Adoption Practices webinar, aka.ms/cap for Copilot.
So exciting.
I know. If we look familiar, it's because you've probably seen us on aka.ms/cute for teams, where we've been talking specifically about teams and collaboration. And a lot of those conversations started getting into Copilot, and we thought Copilot could use its own session. And so that's where we are today. So if you're joining us, you're probably joining us from LinkedIn, because as of right now, I think we're going to do that exclusively and on the live part of this. We'll take the video recordings and put them to the YouTube channel. And in fact, I think I've got this guy here. Yes, be sure to like and subscribe. But that's where you will go to find not only these sessions, but also the Microsoft Teams sessions if you're interested in that as well. So that's youtube.com/teamworkcowbell. So glad to see you here. Again, if you are on LinkedIn, hopefully you're able to use the chat. And if so, if you are in chat and you are out there, hit us up with a hello or tell us where you're joining from. That would be cool. Let's see here. I'm going to respond to one thing here. Okay. So what we wanted to talk about, so we'll be here, weekly, talking about different topics. A lot of what we'll talk about is really, a lot of the power of Copilot comes in terms of good prompting, good prompts. And so we'll probably do a lot of sharing of useful prompts that we've come across or that we use in our day-to-day. And then hopefully they'll be useful to you as well. On this first one, we did want to kind of lay the groundwork of, if you're coming to this and you're brand new to Copilot, kind of understanding what it is, particularly as it relates to some of you may be using Copilot, the free version, and others may have the Copilot for Microsoft 365 Copilot, the paid version. And we want to kind of talk through the differences there just so that you don't get confused on that. So that's what we'll do today. Again, if you got any questions or comments, you can put them in the chat. But let's jump over to the environment here. I'm going to start in Windows in general, because if you're using Windows 11, I'm not sure if it's in Windows 10 yet, but there is a Copilot button there in your taskbar. So that is one of many places where you can hit Copilot, Microsoft Copilot in general, not Microsoft Copilot for 365. And what you'll notice when you do that is I'm actually signed in, but if you're not signed in, you'll be looking at the Copilot that anybody with internet and a browser can use. Okay. So for some of you, that might be very useful to know that, oh, Copilot is available to me. I don't have to necessarily sign up for anything. It's there. And so if you're using the Edge browser, for instance, you're going to see it up in the corner here like that. So this is like the other place where you'll find Copilot. We'll get back into that in a sec. But if you are a Microsoft 365 subscriber, you have a work account, you are going to want to sign in to this because when you do that, you are going to get this nice green label that we all know and love, which is showing us that our use of Copilot is protected with this commercial data protection. And what that means is, unlike just using it with the rest of the public, we're not looking at your prompts. We're not using what you do to train the model, all of those kind of things. That's the protection that seeing that green label really gives.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah. So a lot of organizations that green label is a very big deal. It's the difference between, disabling Copilot and not disabling it. If you do have Microsoft 365 Copilot that you can use in work, you see this toggle here, and you can see that I can switch to the work one. And the difference there is that this Copilot is part of my subscription and is able to interact not just with the web, but also with my work things, my emails, my documents, my Teams meetings, things like that. And so what you'll see when I hover over the green tab here is it says Microsoft Enterprise Compliance Standard. So on the web is commercial data protection, on work is enterprise compliance standards or enterprise data protection. And there's actually, so that's cool, but there's, Stacy, I hear that there's big news.
There is.
That label there.
And we're getting very close to releasing an exciting piece of that puzzle called enterprise data protection. And enterprise data protection refers to the controls and the commitments under the data protection addendum and those product terms that come with Microsoft 365 when you're using it as an enterprise customer. So those are now extended, or they're going to be extended to Copilot and from Microsoft 365. And that really goes even further in making sure that your prompts, your responses, they're all protected by those same contractual terms and commitments that have been widely trusted by customers for a very long time. And it's going to include things like your emails and SharePoint and all of the content in Microsoft Graph. So in addition to what I've stated so far, it's also going to include encryption and in rest and in transit and rigorous physical security controls and data isolation between all the tenants. So it's something that is going to further enhance what we've already been doing with commercial data protection. But anytime you're using Copilot with an intra ID, as Ricardo mentioned, you will have that added protection. So just want to make sure that that is known. And we're looking forward to releasing that mid-September. So that should be landing here soon.
Yep. So yeah, that's good stuff. If you have come to rely on and be comforted by the data protection you've had in your org, knowing that that's going to apply across the board is cool. So yeah, so hopefully that makes it clear, web versus work. And in many cases, I don't know, we'll play it by ear in terms of what we do with this this particular webinar series. There's certainly some things that are cool about Copilot that are done even outside of your work assets. I think we will spend a lot of time, though. It gets really cool when you start applying it to things like your email and your meetings and things like that. So we'll try to strike a balance there with that. So Windows is one place where that would show up. I showed that in Edge, you have it there as well with the little Copilot button, but maybe you're using a different browser. If neither of those work for you, then it is copilot.microsoft.com, and any browser will take you to this and to Copilot. And again, signing in is so it's going to give you that nice green label for today, commercial data protection, soon to be enterprise data protection. Okay. But what we're looking at here, if you've used any AI tools at all, this is probably very similar, right? We've got our ability to ask things of it and have it generate things, including images and all of that good stuff. So again, these are all the kind of topics we'll talk about on this webinar in the coming weeks. But as Stacy and I were talking, the question is, what do we start with, right? And one thing that is very popular, among users of Copilot is summarization of things, right? Copilot can summarize pretty much anything, right? A document, a web page that you're looking at. That's one of the benefits of this sidebar in the browser is once I'm in here, it knows what I'm looking at, and when I say generate a page summary, it knows you want a page summary of that page. But summaries in general, right? So it's web pages, documents, and then when you start using, M365 Copilot, summarizing email threads, summarizing meeting transcripts, summarizing documents that are in your SharePoint and OneDrive and things like that. So we'll get into lots. There's a lot. Part of why I wanted to do this webinar is because there's a lot more coolness than just summaries. That's where people usually start. We'll get into that, but I figured I'd start in a place where we could all appreciate, right? And so I did want to do some summaries, and in fact, I was thinking about starting with some meeting summaries. And one reason I'm starting there, so I'm bringing up my teams here, and this is a previous meeting that I had. And you can see I'm on the recap tab here. This is Teams Premium's intelligent recap, where after the meeting, it is automatically given a summary, as you can see here on the side, of what happened in the meeting. In fact, let me go here and make sure you can see it all. So it generates this automatically. You can see I can kind of go dive in and get all of the info on this meeting, what they were talking about. They were talking about a project with different two IT professionals talking about some things, right? And so this is great. Without doing anything after the meeting, I automatically get notes. If I scroll down further, I actually get AI coming up with tasks that it feels that it heard in the meeting. And has those there as well. If I was mentioned in the meeting, I'll be shown in this list. I can see the full transcript of what went on if I need to. Notes, places where people talked, all of that good stuff.
Will you click back on the AI notes
Yep.
tab there? I just love to point out that you have that copy all button everywhere that Copilot or other AI is producing content for you. You can just click that copy and take it over to Word or take it over to Outlook and then further use Copilot to refine it.
Yeah. On a future session, I want to talk about the OneNote integration with this as well, which I absolutely love. I'm a big OneNote fanatic. So when you talk about that copy all button, I'll show you why OneNote says, no need for copy all, I'll do it myself. It's very cool. But anyway, so this is, out of the box Teams Premium Intelligent Recap. But so I can get that. But I can also still ask my own questions of the meeting with the Copilot button you saw me click there. So that's Copilot in Teams with Microsoft 365 Copilot. And so, that recap's probably great, but I might have some additional questions. And in fact, in this one, I did ask some more questions. For instance, I went in here, these are previous ones, as you can see from the date, and I said, what was the tone of this meeting? Okay. And Copilot is able to say to me that it thinks the tone was focused and constructive. They addressed some challenges, things of that nature, right? So that may not come through in a recap, but that may be something that, you're interested in. And in fact, what if this meeting maybe had contentious isn't the word I want, but a topic that might get passionate, let's say.
A little bit of a debate.
Right. So I ended up asking things like, did anyone seem worried in the meeting? And in fact, so this meeting I faked, right, with a script of two people. I actually used Copilot to help me create the content. And so I explicitly put some worrisome verbiage in there so that I could ask this question. So did anyone seem worried? And Copilot says, yes, the administrator expressed concerns about the project timeline and meeting all the deliverables, indicating they were very nervous and worried. And so what you can see here, and I'm going to zoom in on this if I can. So you can see here, there's a little indicator there. That's actually telling me where in the transcript it got this from. As we say all the time, AI generated content may be incorrect. So we always want to check when we can. And so in this case, I can hover over it, and I'm actually getting to see the place in the transcript, two minutes and 44 seconds, exactly what the administrator said that makes Copilot come up with this. The administrator said, well, I'm nervous about our timeline, right? So in this case, looks like Copilot was right about that worry. But there's, tons of questions that you might want to ask after the fact. If I click more prompts, we always have this more prompts to give you ideas about things. So these are some things, right, what questions are unresolved. I can hit that and I don't even have to type it in, and it'll think about it, and we'll see if there were any unanswered questions. So it looks like it found some, right, that it thinks maybe were unanswered. So I would probably want to go back and take a look at that and see if I agree, and if so, if I need to follow up with something, things like that. Let's see. We can list the main items we discussed. You can see all of these different. Actually, I'll make that a little bigger for you for a sec. You can see all of these different suggestions that we have about things that we might ask to further get some info. The other thing about these prompts, though, is it is cool to just get them in text, bullet points, whatever. But sometimes I might want a table format. So I might say something like, I know they talked about technology here, so maybe I'll say, list any technologies that were mentioned, put it in table format with columns, technology. I'm just making this up on the fly, and description. I don't even know what this is gonna generate, but let's give it a shot. So again, I said, list any technologies that were mentioned, table format, right? And here we go. So it's mentioning some things: data synchronization, real-time analytics, of course, a link to the transcript in all of those cases. But again, this might be more useful for me. This might be a more usable format than just the bullets. And certainly if I wanted a table with even more columns, that could become even more useful. And then this is probably easily ready to pop into Excel if maybe I want to start tracking some items from that after the fact. So again, it doesn't have to be, that's one key thing that hopefully you'll learn through this webinar series as we talk to Copilot. It is a conversation. It is closer to the natural language than what we've been doing for the last couple of decades of kind of doing these short computer-based sentences to our web search. This isn't web search, right? This is an assistant that we want to talk to. And so you can see here, my query was 2 sentences: list the technologies, put them in table format, things like that. And we can continue to have this conversation. In future sessions, we'll actually talk through the ingredients for a great prompt. There's definitely some guidance there. But hopefully you're seeing, though, the difference between a standard meeting summary that hopefully many of you out there have started to get used to as you're using Teams and Recap, versus having the ability to ask your own questions. These are ones, the Recap is what everybody gets to see that has Teams Premium. These are just for you, right? These may be questions other people don't necessarily need to ask of the meeting. And you can kind of go at it to your heart's content, right? And again, all integrated right here into Teams, right next to the recording and everything else related to it. So very useful stuff there. I think chat may not be working. So if you are, I think I got a technical issue on the chat piece. So if you are chatting, we're not ignoring you. I'm just not seeing it. I'll have to fix that for next time. Good stuff.
So you mentioned talking to Copilot, or at least that having natural language work so well with phrasing questions and things with Copilot. I wonder if you've tried the Windows plus H keystroke for
Yes.
speaking to Copilot. I've found it really helpful in a pinch, and some may find it an accessibility boon. So um, I don't know if you want to try that
Yeah.
here, but I just wanted to mention that you have the Windows H anywhere that you have a UI where you can put your cursor and type to Copilot. You can do Windows H and speak to
And
Copilot instead.
and this is why me and Stacy get along, because we think so much alike. I also am very much in favor of the voice to text with
Yes.
Copilot, because it does handle natural language
Hmm.
better than again, like those short, curt technical statements we've been making for web searches. Now, this demo environment, I don't have a microphone capability here.
Yep.
In the future, though, what I've done on webinars like these, I've pulled over my mobile phone and done it there, and it's
Mm.
worked out pretty well. So Copilot is on the mobile as well. And so that may be where you're more used to using voice to text. As Stacy
Hmm.
said, Windows plus H in your PC, that may not be a shortcut you've used before, but on your phone, you probably know where that voice to text button is there. And on the mobile, I found that very nice, because on mobile, it will talk back. You can make it stop if you would rather just read the response, but it would actually talk back to you, and so it's almost like you're really having a conversation.
Yep.
But also, to your point, Stacy, Windows H, or basically voice to text in Windows, if you guys try it, you will be surprised how accurate it is, including punctuation and everything. It just does a good job of kind of knowing when I should have a question mark at the end and stuff like that. So I wish I could show it in this environment, but I don't. I just don't have the microphone capability on this demo environment. So only downside of that. But yes, absolutely. I'm a big proponent of voice to text, specifically for Copilot, because it's just a natural fit. Good stuff.
I think it's interesting too, when you clicked on the more prompts option there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when we were first deploying Copilot with customers, that might have had, one or two suggestions in it? Now, I just love to see the improvements in Copilot and how it's been continual improvement, and it's only getting better and better by day. The fact that there are 7 choices there means that it's probably going to give you ideas of things you didn't even think to ask, but having it feed you those and have it at your fingertips in one click rather than something you have to type or come up with on your own is going to give you the kind of information that you didn't even know you needed, which is, I think, really cool, because a lot of times with Copilot, we come to it with all of the things we're used to doing already or used to approaching and asking for, just because that's the way we work. But I love those embedded tips, because it definitely will help you uncover new ways to leverage Copilot and new information embedded in these meetings that you didn't even know you had at your fingertips and might not have thought to use.
Absolutely. Yeah. In our last couple of minutes here, I'm going to go totally off script. I don't even know if this will work, but I want to ask it to generate an image, generate a creative image based off this meeting. I don't even know if this will work.
Ooh, a big challenge.
I know, right? Let's see what it does here. Because okay, so not in this context. That makes sense. But we can certainly do it over in Copilot here. So that is something some people don't know. We used to have Copilot, not Microsoft Designer, be the exclusive place where you would generate images. But we've now integrated that into Copilot as well. Now, the Copilots that are in specific apps like Teams and whatnot are going to be a little more tailored and configured for that for that app. But certainly going out to, teams in general, Copilot in general will get that done. So I figured I'd get at a try, but this makes sense that it doesn't do that. Just the context of where it is. So
yeah, and I imagine that's just a for now thing. It's probably a future state coming. But the fact that you can take the AI notes that were generated in this, copy them and take them over to Copilot for the web and drop them in and ask Copilot to create an image that goes with it. I mean, that's a maybe 3-minute exercise for something that would have easily taken an hour or more before, had you even thought to ever do that. I don't know. So,
and to your point, I do know, if we were in PowerPoint using Copilot, it would generate. So like I say, it's scoped to the app. So PowerPoint certainly will do images right in line. Teams, I think Teams is like, why would anybody ever ask me for an image of a meeting? Is probably what it was thinking. Just didn't know me. So, but yeah, that's good stuff. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Again, I know there may be different types of folks joining this, some that use it Copilot a lot and some that are just starting to use it. So hopefully we can help both audiences. So continue to use aka.ms/cap for Copilot. We will likely be bi-weekly, but whatever the case may be, we will update that link with the next session. And my hope is to actually log previous links to recordings there, as well as even let you know what the topic is of the upcoming sessions. So that will be a landing page for all things related to this webinar. So that's the only URL you got to remember, other than ak.ms/Q for Teams. So if you're interested in that as well. All right. So again, we're glad that you were able to join, and for not seeing you here today, we'll see you, on YouTube on demand, and hopefully these are helping out. So thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.